Hey, Educator Barnes here. And I was talking to one of my friends, and she said, you're really critical of teachers and you're an educator. Are there teachers that you like? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, I haven't really heard you talk much about, positive aspects of teacher relationship with parents. So I thought I would talk about that today. And so, even though I've highlighted some of the situations I've had with my own children and navigating the school system here in Indy, being a parent, I've also had some really great experiences. And so, my one child that I've highlighted who's had some difficulty in school, especially when he started school, he was in preschool, pre K 3, had an assistant that said that he was an evil twin. So, that just didn't get him off to a very good start in school, and he didn't like school. Now he's at a point where he really likes school, and I attribute that to what happened to him in kindergarten. Kindergarten kind of started off a little shaky, but halfway through the school year, the teacher who wasn't doing her job decided to move away to the Virgin Islands, which was great. I was like, bon voyage. But she was replaced by an educator who I just absolutely love, who came in and took that class and just started to build this community. And then the next school year, she looped up with them in first grade. And I'm an educator who has looped with students. I think about I had 4 different opportunities to loop. So looping is great because you really get to build this foundation with students. But what I appreciated most about this teacher is that she valued me as a knowledgeable person, as a parent. Because sometimes when you're a Black parent, it doesn't matter if you are low socioeconomic status or if you're, upper class. A lot of times you get treated the same way. And it was interesting. I was at a school function and I was speaking to this other parent who works in academia. And his child was sitting here isolated. My child was sitting here isolated. Another parent's child was sitting here isolated. And the dad made this observation. He said, it just really doesn't matter, how many degrees we have. It seems like our children just get treated the same way. And not to say that our children are this super innocent kids, but I heard what he was saying. He's just like, I've been trying to work, with this situation and it's just not improving. But I want to talk about what teachers can do to make a strong relationship with parents, especially parents of color, to move the work forward of educating our students. And so the first thing is that this teacher didn't have a narrative about my child. In schools, it's really easy. If you want to find out something about a kid, you can look in their file, you can ask other people. There's this narrative that gets created about children when, they have some difficulties and they make poor choices. Regardless of what had happened before, she was like, Shante, Mr. and Mrs. Barnes, we're starting off on a clean note. I know your child is really smart and intelligent, which is something we had to argue earlier, not with her, but prior in his schooling. And she said, right now, I'm just going to focus on his social skills to get him acclimated to the academic environment. And so she would contact us, and that was the other thing. She would contact us. She would talk to us about the situations. And she was very good about trying to keep my child in the classroom. My child had the experience of, I'm just going to get kicked out. And so her philosophy was like, no, it is my job to engage your child, to keep him in the classroom. And so I started to feel empowered as a parent to feel like my voice mattered. And when you make parents feel like their voice matters, when you make them feel like their suggestions are valid, when you're even willing to implement their suggestions, it makes them more receptive when you do have to, there is something really negative or there is a bigger consequence. It makes the parent more receptive and more understanding of, well, you have been working with my child up from the beginning up to this point and you are invested. So I know at this point, if this is happening, it's not out of any type of malice. It's because we have done all these other things and now we're at this point. And so even though I am critical, and I think I'm going to continue to be critical because honestly, we need to have these critical conversations. It's also important to note that there are educators There are some white educators out there and other educators of different backgrounds who are doing the work, who are invested in the community. They don't have the white savior complex where they're coming in to save the poor little black and brown kids. They do value the parents' opinion and they see them as a true stakeholder. They see them as a true partner. And so if you're an educator, it doesn't really matter what color you are, keep those things in mind. Don't have a story about the child. Regardless of what happened with the child before, you can be that teacher that makes the difference. You can be the person that changes that child's narrative. Because I'm telling you, the reason my son loves second grade right now is because of that teacher. And up until that point, he just didn't really like school. And so for me, when I feel the effect of my child saying, I like school now, I want to go to school, are we going to school today? And I've had years of, Mommy, why can't you teach me? Aren't you a teacher? Mommy, why can't I stay home? I don't want to go to this place. And so when you're making those type of profound impacts where you're actually changing the trajectory of a child's life, then I will be your biggest advocate. And I tell everybody how wonderful this teacher is. And so that's what I have for you today. So if you're a teacher out there, I hope you consider my points. And if you're a parent out there, just keep advocating for your child. Regardless of what the situation is. And when there are great teachers, tell other people about them, because those are the teachers that we need to keep around. Those are the teachers that we need to support, because sometimes those teachers that do great work, sometimes they get overburdened at the school. And so we need to do a good job of uplifting and supporting those educators so they don't walk away from education, and so they stay in the classroom and keep making that profound impact. Till next time, guys.